Hey Peaches, Peaches, how you settling in? Enjoying the new place? Yeah? Enjoying it? Yeah, all good? Still a bit timid though, huh? Oh, not too timid. Look at you. A pleasant surprise. So it's actually kind of cute and funny how much of an attention whore she is, but she's still sort of nervous about hanging out too much. So she does that. She'll sort of freak out a little bit. She'll give pats and then she'll come back. Here she is. And then she'll bugger off. She'll disappear and then she'll trot back. So it seems like she's fitting in okay, guys. Anyway, time to get into a video, huh? G'day you mob, how's it going? Welcome to this episode of Pete versus Plants. Today I have a Monstera deliciosa green-on-green sport variegated plant. At least that's what I think. Now, I got this a while back. I think I got it for about 250 bucks. It was just these three leaves here that you can see. This is probably the nicest of the three. And it was sort of, I don't know, early on in my Monstera deliciosa passion, I guess. You know, I fell in love with these variegated forms of deliciosa. So anyway, I got this plant, hoping to grow it out and propagate it and use it as a bit of an investment plant too, because it seems to have a sort of stable price because there aren't that many of them going around. The interesting thing is, the most recent leaf to have come out here seems to have some kind of mint variegation to it, which is kind of strange. I wasn't expecting that. You'll see that here it's kind of like a, I don't know, it's like limey green and dark green, and then here it's much paler up the top there in the corner. So I don't know what this is. It's some kind of Monstera sport, but yeah, I thought I would chop it up today. We're going to turn this plant into two. Now, what I have done here is air layer the beast. So it was popping out an aerial root down here, and the interesting thing is, guys, I'm pretty sure, that the aerial root popped out. It grew all the way around the bottom of the cup and then found its way out and into the bottom of the pot here. So I think I'm going to have to unpot this guy from both of these pots, the moss up the top here in this cup that I had sort of jerry-rigged and put on here, and the pot down the bottom here, and then chop it and pot them back up because, yeah, otherwise I have a feeling it's going to be a nightmare trying to get this root out. It's been quite a while since I've been watching this happen. And so I'd say it's fairly well established down here. This is a good propagation method if you've got a bit of time on your hands, guys. Just chucking another pot here and kind of doing a staircase. You can kind of staircase up behind the stem. It's kind of similar to, I guess, a lazy moss pole. Well, you probably could just use a lazy moss pole, but you can also kind of just chop and then take these off, assuming that you haven't had the root grow through the bottom and into the substrate below. So anyway, I'm going to stop rabbiting on and let's just take this plant out, and I'll show you what I've done with the cup on the top here. So I have just cut like a little kind of diamond shape or triangle shape out of the bottom of the cup. You know what? It's actually going to be a real pain in the ass because the roots have kind of attached to the bottom of the cup. So I'm trying to think, do I have some scissors? I might have to destroy the cup to be able to pull this apart. Let's see how we go. Hopefully, without doing too much damage to the roots. Surgically remove this thing ever so gently. It's going to be interesting to see how developed these roots are, because I think it's probably been sitting here for about 4 months doing its thing. Okay. Yeah, that is really difficult to get off the bottom there. And I don't want to damage any of the roots, so I'm kind of erring on the side of caution here. Does this want to come off? No, it does not. I guess I'll just have to sort of gently cut down the back of the cup. That's better. There we go. All right, so unfortunately I have chopped the cup up, but if I can sort of put it back together, effectively what I had done here, so sort of like this, was cut this diamond shape in here and a length up the top here, and the diamond shape was to go around the base of the plant where the root was coming out. So it sort of engulfed the entire base, or the base of, what did you say? It's not the base. I guess it wraps around the shoot of the plant, the stem. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for, the stem. And I was trying to encapsulate the root as it was coming out, the aerial root. But obviously, as you saw down below, it didn't work too well. The good thing is a whole bunch of secondary roots appear to have sort of shot out and grown up into the moss. And these are looking beautiful. So I'm just going to try and gently remove as much of the moss as I can here. And then we will unpot the bottom as well. Chop the plant up, probably into at least, well, into at least 2. Yeah, probably. If you're going to chop the plant, you're probably going to get more than 1. You're probably going to get at least 2. So we'll do 2, but who knows? If we find a few extra nodes there with some significant rootage, maybe we'll chop it up further. I guess we will see how we go. And I am doing this now because I was waiting for that most recent leaf that you saw at the start there to harden off and then be ready for the haircut. All right. This is going to take a while, so I might do this in silence as I have nothing really of substance to rabbit on about. And we'll be back in a sec. Alright, so there is quite a significant amount of roots down here, guys, and I tell you what, I just love finding roots that look like this. These fat, thick, hairy, yellow-tipped roots really wet my whistle, guys. They just, yeah, Monstera, I don't know what it is, but you guys just have the best roots, the chunkiest, lushest, just loveliest roots that I have experienced so far in the aeroids that I have. It's just such a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to grow you guys. Okay, so I might take the stake out here at the back too. Now, something to note, I often find this mold, it's kind of greeny, brown, bluey kind of mold grows on, especially bamboo, when I put this in here, but it seems to be nothing to worry about. So just an FYI, if you ever see this kind of stuff growing, it's just the bamboo is obviously staying really moist and starting to break down, and so the fungi is just like, yee getting in there, but yeah. All right, moss aside. So we have this huge root here, and it'll be interesting to see if this tip here is actually the initial aerial root that goes all the way down in and has come back up. That happens sometimes. It's kind of funky. And we have all these other secondary roots that have come off as well, and you'll see loads of these little tips. They're kind of obscured here a bit by the moss, but there are quite a few growing in here, so I'm really chuffed to see that. So I'm going to give this a bit of a squeeze and then gently try and depot it just onto the table because I am lazy and, well, the mat is right behind me, but I didn't realize it prior to filming, so what can you do? The other issue is I've got these roots growing out the bottom here. The funny thing was they were beautiful and lush, but they quickly crisped up and dried. The tips of them dried off, so I was a bit bummed out. I was waiting the whole time. I'm like, don't die. I want to pot you up in something before you cark it. But yeah, while I was waiting for these leaves to harden off, they hit the deck. All right, can I coax you out? Sweet. All right, so I guess I'm going to try and separate out as much of this substrate as possible. This doesn't look like my mix. It's a heavy perlite peat mix by the looks of it. This plant is pretty dense in terms of the roots that it has in here. So hopefully it'll benefit quite a bit from a pot up. We might have to, don't know if we'll chuck it back into the same size pot. So I guess we'll have a look once we've separated these roots out and divided the plant up. Because, yeah, I'm not sure what the final root mass will be like on either cutting. Is it a cutting if it already has established roots? Feels a bit weird to say that. Like if you've got one plant and the aerial root's grown out and grown a massive amount of roots down the bottom and you chop it, is the top part the cutting or is the bottom part the cutting, or are they both plants that are established now and you don't really call them cuttings? Feels inappropriate, right? Alright, so these roots are so intertangled. This is the only sort of pain in the butt part about air layering if you don't manage to keep all of the roots confined within the space. It's getting in here and trying to work out where everything starts and stops and then disentangling it all. Okay, so I'm going to try and follow this root. This is the main one that came down. It's gone in, and I have a feeling it's going to be this thing coming out the back here because it seems to be going in that direction. The only annoying part is that it looks like it's grown right through the root ball, if that's it. Oh, here we go. I think, is that it? Yeah, it is. Look at that. Holy moly. Oh man, I don't know what it is, but just when you pull these things apart and you see these little, I don't know, just seeing the level to which these roots have grown and developed and everything, it's just so satisfying. Yeah, far out. It is. Like, we were right, guys. I'm just trying to separate some of these secondary roots that have grown along some other ones, and I don't want to damage them. Kind of want to keep them intact. I love when they grow like against one another like that, and the hairs along the roots kind of fuse the two together, and you get to pull them apart like spaghetti, or it's like string cheese. You know when you buy that string cheese for your kids or yourself out of the kids' aisle in the supermarkets, you can like pull it apart, and there's this really satisfying kind of, what would you say? There's a little bit of friction there, so it just goes exactly like that. Feels good. All right, so I think there's one little root in here. There we go. I think I have detached everything. It's sort of sitting in the middle here. You can see, boop, 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 boop. I don't know what's with all the sound effects, but nice. Okay, so we've got that there, and I think I might leave. I could probably take 3 cuttings here, but they would be like single node cuttings, and I'm not sure if that's a bit risky or not. I might just leave 2 leaves on the bottom plant here because I think I'll end up cutting here. The aerial root is coming out of this section here, so I'll go below that, and then allow the plant at the bottom to have these 2 leaves to hopefully bounce back pretty quickly. If you end up removing a whole heap, it's going to slow down the process. So I'm going to grab a razor blade out, give that a clean, and then we will give this a McChoppity chop. Alrighty. Razor blade, alcohol, shake it like a Polaroid picture. Alright. So I guess what I want to do here is chuck the razor blade down and let it get infected again with bacteria. I'm looking for the axillary bud on the node below where I want to cut, and I have a feeling with these guys it seems like the axial buds must be right behind the plant sheaths because I can't see them on the stem, which is kind of annoying, but I have a feeling if I cut in the middle here of this internodal spacing, so not too low, hopefully I don't go through the axial bud below it. Okay, let's just do it. Okay, seesaw motion, gently, gently, till you get all the way through. Come on. And making sure not to put too much pressure so that you go through the root when you go through. Done that before. Okay, so now we have these 2. There's still a bit of root entanglement. So I'm going to try and coax it out. I kind of don't want to break any of these roots, but I want to pull them apart, obviously, so that I can then more easily disinfect or cover up these cuts. Okay. Come on. There we go. Beautiful. Bang! And 1 becomes 2. Okay, so activated charcoal. I am going to just grab a little bit on my fingers here, rub it on the cuts that I just made. Get a bit more. So I'm just doing that to sort of cover up these cuts. It's a nice alternative if you don't like cinnamon or don't have anything else to chuck on them. I found that it seems to work just fine at the moment. In fact, I haven't noticed in any of the plants that I've chopped up, I haven't noticed any of them rotting when I've put charcoal on there. Again, hopefully I haven't jinxed myself, but I haven't noticed that at all. Okay, so now the question is, like I'll let this one sit out for a bit before I pot it up. With this bottom cutting, the base plant, do I chuck it back into this small pot or do I pot it up another pot? Because it seems to be that this is quite a large root base, or what do I want to say, root ball on the base plant. So I think I might get a bigger pot, to be honest. And I will go get my soil. All right. So, how much more can I break these roots up? You know what? I think I'm just going to plonk it in there. I kind of don't like breaking the roots up too much on these guys because I always feel like I'm going to snap a whole bunch and the plant's going to be worse off than better off. I might take the soil that was around the plant and chuck it back in there too. Waste not, want not. Get rid of that dead root. Don't chuck that back in. Okay, I think we are all good there. Looks pretty good. I can't really see any sizable air pockets in there. What I do note is that there is a root coming up here above the soil, so I better either tuck him down back in, tuck him back down in. Too many prepositions. And then I might chuck a bit of moss just over the top to keep a bit of moisture in and around the root system there. Cool. All right, so there is number one. Wham bam, thank you ma'am, done. The next one doesn't seem to have a huge root system, so I think it'll be a bit of a squeeze though to fit it in here, and I'll have to do too much sort of twisting of this main root, so I might go a similar sized pot. Now, this is where it's like, do you wait, I don't know, more than another 10 minutes or so for this to, yeah. All right, so because I have just cut this, even though I have chucked some charcoal in here, I might just wait a little while, another 10 or 20 minutes, and then I'll pot it up because of the way that it's been cut, it's gonna be down in the soil, and I would like to kind of submerge this aerial root too. So yeah, and hopefully it'll get some stability by doing that. So I'm just gonna leave this out and we will be back shortly. Alrighty, I'm back. This thing's been sitting here for about 20 minutes now. So we're going to pot it up in a similar size, I think it's a 14 centimeter pot. I'm going to take the labels off while I remember because I always seem to forget to do this. I'm just so lazy. And there's one on the bottom here too. All right, we're sweet. So I'm going to, off camera, I'm going to put some soil at the bottom of this pot. And then I am going to use the little twisty, spinny, spirally trick of getting the roots into the pot. And I'm going to try and make sure that this sort of taproot, if you will, the sort of primary aerial root, is in and sort of facing either horizontally or down, because I have made the mistake before of kind of just putting it in and having it facing up along the side of the pot, and it makes its way out of the pot and wants to enter other pots, which it is not allowed to do. The other thing that I like to do is kind of leave it up against the side of the pot so that you can tell whether or not you're having any troubles with root rot. So yeah, it's always good when potting these things up or chucking them in semi-hydro, whatever it is, when you're taking cuttings like this, just make sure some of the roots are visible so that you can keep an eye on them just in case, right? Because sometimes it's the biggest bummer in the world when you are like, what's wrong with this plant? It's not growing, it's looking a bit off, you know, a bit worse for wear, and then you pull the roots out and you're like, there are no roots, or the roots are mush, you know, they've rotted. So yeah, to avoid that kind of a bummer, give yourself some visibility, some root visibility. All right, I'm gonna try and center this guy up just so that it doesn't take up too much space. And I'm gonna make sure that that aerial root over here is sort of, I don't know, an inch or so below the top of the pot. And then off camera, I am going to fill it in with my chunky aeroid mix. Okay, and I need a little stick here because there are some air pockets, as you can probably see, a little cavern there. So I need to make sure that that is filled in with soil. Get in there, mate. Down you go, get in. There's room for you too, come on. Don't be shy. In you go, buddy. All right, beautiful. Fill her up a little more. Give it a few slap and taps. Really let everything settle in there. And there we go. So I can see the roots along here and all along the bottom here. I have lost the tip, but that happens. That's what he said. Moving along. So I don't think it needs a stake. I think it should be okay. It doesn't look too wobbly, though I guess I'll keep an eye on it and see if it does later, maybe a day or two. But I'm going to give it a water, and I think that's all she wrote, guys. I think we are sweet and good to go, and I'm hoping to grow these guys out, take some more cuttings, grow out some more, and then eventually have one that is, probably I'll just keep taking the tip cutting, so I might just grow this one out, take the tip cutting, and I'll keep that for myself in the end, and then sell off some of the others as investment plants. But yeah, the idea is, it cost me, what, 250 bucks. Obviously you've put in, time, labor, resources as well, so if you can eventually turn this plant into, say, $400 or $500 return, you've doubled your money. If you can do that in a year or two, that's a pretty good return on investment. So that's sort of the plan. I'm sort of hesitant to recommend, copying me at all in terms of which plants to invest in, because I'm still learning as I go, and I would hate to give you financial advice when I'm not, what would you say? A financial advisor, I guess. But I think that the green-on-green variegation deliciosa is a nice one to have in your collection, and just keep an eye on the prices. It can be a really beautiful plant to grow out anyway, and for me, at least personally, all the plants that I invest in are ones that I would like to have anyway. So if the prices do crash tomorrow and they're effectively worthless, I've at least got a plant in my collection that I think is beautiful and that I would like to grow out anyway. So that's my opinion on this one. I think they are good investment plants. Have a look at prices locally for you if you can find them. If they have been stable too, keep an eye on them for a few months, see what they're doing. Are they going up? Are they going down? And then, yeah, maybe lash out on one, grow it out, and see how you go. But besides that, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you guys. This December is hopefully going to be fun, where I am trying to upload a video every single day, as you may know. So stay tuned for tomorrow's video. And in the meantime, YouTube reckons you'll like this one, so get over there. Get clicking. See ya.